What is up, everybody? I'm planning on attending some college football games this fall, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to start with the Alabama game against Western Kentucky on August 31st. So I am a fan of two college teams, Jacksonville State, which is my alma mater, and Alabama, which is the team I've followed my entire life. I was born and raised in Tuscaloosa County, and some of my earliest sports memories were Mike Shula's Alabama teams. So back in 2004, Auburn was the more successful team. Tommy Tuberville had led the Auburn Tigers to an undefeated season. And so probably my earliest football memory was Auburn rolling the trees on a news broadcast after they either won the Iron Bowl or the SEC Championship. So I definitely remember an SEC Championship between Auburn and Tennessee that year. Unfortunately for Auburn that season, there were two other undefeated teams, and Auburn was left out of the national championship game. Imagine an undefeated SEC team not getting a shot at a national championship. Anyway, screw Auburn. This is about Alabama. And then later on, I remember Alabama playing Minnesota in the Music City Bowl. My dad and I watched the first half of that game, and then he had to run an errand, so we listened to the second half on the radio. So Minnesota won that game. So Alabama is a mediocre team. Then 2005 comes around, and Alabama is losing to Southern Miss at the end of the first quarter, at which point I fall asleep during the game. Towards the end of the second quarter of the game, Tyrone Prothro makes one of the greatest catches in college football history. Since I fell asleep, I did not see that play live, but I saw that play every day for the rest of the college football season. Then Bama plays a highly ranked Florida team and beats the crap out of them. Unfortunately, that was the game in which Tyrone Prothro had a career-ending leg injury. I do not have first-hand recollection of the injury happening when it happened. That injury is one of the worst injuries I've ever seen on YouTube. So I'm not thinking about an Alabama team that just lost its star player. I'm thinking about an Alabama team that has a chance to beat Tennessee. So my family invited the neighbors over, and we had like a nice barbecue cookout. So late in the game, each team had only managed to score a field goal on each other. So Alabama eventually hits the game-winning field goal, and we are so happy. What I did not remember was the fumble that was caused that led to the pass that led to the field goal that was kicked. And I just remembered that Alabama had another game-winning field goal against Ole Miss that season. Alabama was 9-0 going into the final two games of the regular season. Unfortunately, they lost to LSU, which cost them the SEC, and they lost to Auburn, which more painfully meant Alabama had lost 4 Iron Bowls in a row. Well, still the best Bama season I had seen, and they played Texas Tech in the Cotton Bowl, winning on, guess what? Another game-winning field goal, which barely went in, by the way. So things are looking up. Bama just had a 10-win season. 2006 could be a great year, right? Bama went 6-6 that year. Now, granted, some of those losses were close, but they lost to Mississippi State and Sylvester Croom, as well as losing their 5th Iron Bowl. So that was the end of the Mike Shula era in Alabama, and they had Joe Kynes for the Independence Bowl that year against Oklahoma State. Bama lost that game, but that halftime interview is one of the greatest interviews I've ever seen on YouTube. Go look it up. So Bama has to find a new permanent head coach, and we keep hearing this name Rich Rodriguez come up. But Rich Rodriguez does not take the job, and then we hear another name, Nick Saban. Now, I was not following college football when Nick Saban was at LSU, nor was I following the NFL when he was at the Miami Dolphins. But he is hired to be the coach of Alabama, and when he arrives, he has this huge reception at the Tuscaloosa airport. I mean, fans are coming up to him, hugging and kissing him. He's going to set a new standard for Alabama football. They're going to dominate. The A-Day game is held that April, and Bryant-Denny Stadium is sold out for that scrimmage. And the beginning of the 2007 season looks very promising, with Bama winning the first few games. They play Arkansas, and towards the end of the game, they score the game-winning touchdown, making Bryant-Denny Stadium go into a frenzy. Then Alabama plays Georgia, and Matt Stafford beats Alabama with a touchdown. Alabama would also lose to Florida State, but they would be 6-2 going into the last 4 games of the season. Once again, they lost to Mississippi State and LSU, but more painfully, they lost to Louisiana Monroe. That Louisiana Monroe game was on pay-per-view, so I did not watch that as it happened. But when I saw that, I was shocked. So it should come as no surprise that Alabama would end their 07 campaign with the 6th straight Iron Bowl loss. Well, I guess they beat Colorado in the Independence Bowl. Well, maybe Nick Saban needs to recruit some players and build the program a little more. Nick Saban recruited, and Alabama started winning. Bama goes to Atlanta and defeats Clemson pretty convincingly. Then Georgia plans a blackout against Alabama, which Alabama ruins. Alabama beats Tennessee, and then Nick Saban goes back to the place he used to coach, LSU. By the way, I definitely remember when LSU was not really a rival for Alabama. Before Nick Saban came to Alabama, LSU was no more of a rival than Ole Miss was. Heck, I'd argue Ole Miss was a bigger rival. Anyway, Alabama goes to LSU, and Alabama wins the SEC West that night. And Alabama is undefeated going into the Iron Bowl, which they finally beat Auburn for the first time that I've ever seen. And let me tell you something, that win was so cathartic. And Tommy Tuberville could shove his 6 in a row up his derriere. Bama would lose to Tim Tebow and would also lose to Utah in the Sugar Bowl. Even though the Sugar Bowl loss was somewhat embarrassing, a 12-2 record was still a vast improvement. And then the following season, in 2009, Bama continued their regular season success up until they played Tennessee. At the end of the Tennessee game, the Vols were driving to set up a game-winning field goal. I remember Tennessee was about to attempt a game-winning field goal, and I could not watch, so I turned my back to the TV, and I heard Vern Lundquist say, "Blocked again! Cody again! Alabama wins!" I can't do impressions, I'm sorry. But he said again because Terrence Cody had blocked another field goal in that game. Bama wins that game, they beat LSU, and then they get to the Iron Bowl on Black Friday. And I'll never forget Greg McElroy throwing that touchdown that gave Alabama its second straight Iron Bowl and its second straight SEC championship game appearance. And then the following week, Alabama made Tim Tebow cry. So after that game, I go to a friend's house, and we're watching the Big 12 championship between Nebraska and Texas. Nebraska thinks they've won the game, but there's 1 second on the clock. Texas kicks the game-winning field goal, and that sends them to play Alabama in the BCS National Championship in Pasadena. So Alabama is playing in its first national championship game in my lifetime. So Colt McCoy gets hurt in that championship game. Towards the end of the second quarter, I'll remember Marcel Darius picking up a turnover ball and running it back into the end zone. And then Alabama put it away for its 13th national championship and the first one in my lifetime. In the mid-2000s, it was not cool to be an Alabama fan, but it was at the end of the decade. As far as what Nick Saban did for Alabama, the rest is history. 5 more national championships after that, for 6 total at UA. My point of the story was not really to tell a history of Alabama football, but to explain that I'm not a bandwagon fan. I've been a fan for a long time. So anyway, when Nick Saban retired from Alabama, I wanted to do a video on that, but I was busy with work and other projects, so I never did it. But I also wanted to mention that I've never seen an Alabama football game in person. I was strongly considering going to the last regular season game last season. I think it was against the FCS opponent that was at 11 a.m. and it was raining that day. Now, had I known it was going to be Nick Saban's last game at Bryant-Denny Stadium, I probably would have done it, but I didn't think to do it at the time. Now, up until a couple years ago, I really wasn't interested in going to college football games. I mean, I like watching it on TV and channel flipping, but I didn't like going to huge stadiums. I mean, ones that had 100,000 people and were outdoors and the weather could change. So it looks like I'm going to forever regret not seeing Nick Saban coach in person. So I'm going to get to the future of Alabama football in a sec, but I want to cover one other thing that happened a few days afterwards. The retirement of Nick Saban did not come as a complete shock, especially after that Texas game and the South Florida game afterwards. But what was shocking was that Alabama let Eli Gold go. Eli Gold was the longtime broadcaster of Alabama football since the 1980s. He wasn't just Alabama's guy. He was the voice of NASCAR. He was a legit force in the broadcasting field. So that news honestly pissed me off for a few days. And then I found out where Eli Gold was going. Eli Gold is now working for Jacksonville State. You not. Eli Gold covered baseball games, and this season he's going to be doing ESPN Plus broadcasts for Jacksonville State football. When I saw that Eli Gold was going to be Jacksonville State's broadcaster, I started laughing my butt off. So anyway, that's how I connect Jacksonville State to Alabama. And also, Rich Rodriguez is Jacksonville State's coach. Now, as far as the future of Alabama football is concerned, it's time for Kalen to take over the program. I know there's a lot of people that think Alabama is just going to go away. I think Alabama could be more like Ohio State, though, where they're still very much a threat. I'm excited to see what's going to be happening at what's now Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I think that the future is very bright for the Alabama football program. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Eli. And roll Tide.
The snap, the spot. The kick is blocked. It is blocked by Alabama. It is blocked by Alabama. Garrett Gilbert, the quarterback. Utah shovel pass in the middle, picked up by Darius. Marcell Darius. Darius to the 15. He spins to the 5. Touchdown. Touchdown. Marcell Darius. AJ gets the snap. Pressure. Screen. Yeldon. 30, 25.
Make a man miss.
That's right. He's going to go. He's going to go. Touchdown. T.J. Yeldon. It's going to be a shorter kick. Drake makes the grab at the 5. Up the near side, 20, cuts left, 25, goes outside the contain. He's to the 30, turns on the accelerator. Here comes Hugo. He can't get him. Drake down the left sideline. He's to the 20, to the 15, to the 10, lunges in. Touchdown, Alabama, Kenyon Drake.
Got to get half the yardage back here, give yourself a fighting chance on third down.
Here's Tua, stepping back, loads up, looks long, throws, end zone.
Touchdown.
Alabama. Devontae Smith, touchdown, Alabama, and the Crimson Tide has once again ascended to the top of the college football mountain. Inside the Chick-fil-A red zone, Jalen calls his own number. He runs to the 10, he's running to the 5, he is to the goal line, he is in, touchdown, Jalen Hurts. Mack claps his hands, gets the snap, Mack stands in, throws back to the end zone, high, Devontae, oh my goodness, touchdown Alabama. Bama going left to right. Bryce gets the snap, knee high, looks, throws the fade route, near side end zone, got it, caught, touchdown Alabama. Caught by Ja'Cory Brooks in the end zone. In the shotgun, gets the snap, backpedals, looks left, throws, touchdown. 2-point conversion, and Alabama wins. John Mechie on the grab. Here's the snap. Milrose stands in, lets everybody get downfield. Still standing. He throws into the end zone.
He caught it.
It's caught. It's caught by Isaiah Bond. Caught by Isaiah